welcome to all the members and of our community. So, guys, today on a very auspicious occasion of Guru Pushya, I will have a very special guest with us. So, me and Christina, our today's guest, we have been connected on like social media for a long time. The kind of way she's like approaching, she's invested, and she is like dedicated to astrology, Vedic sciences, Ayurveda, yoga, the way she is so strongly connected with all the players who are doing very good. So I thought there couldn't be a better day of bringing her on our platform and taking her inputs, taking her research, taking her views for the most pressing, most debated, and most explored and searched topic right now on internet, which is about what is going to be happening in this upcoming US presidential elections. Because we all know that the way the whole geopolitics is happening, there have been so many war fronts, countries are shifting their loyalties and all. So whomsoever is going to be sitting on that US presidential seat is going to have an impact not only on the US only, but on the whole world. So, and definitely these are the kind of situation where astrology proves to be very, very helpful tool. Like the way at a time when COVID came, unfortunately, there have been so many astrologers who forewarned everyone, predicted it in advance, basis the astrology calculation. So planets have all the answers. And today, in order to decode that, our expert Christina is going to sharing her inputs with us. So Christina, welcome to our platform.
Thank you, Nipun, and for having me today talking about this very important topic. Um, yeah, so where do you want to start with?
So I guess I always let's do, because looking at in your background Lord Ganesha's very holy spiritual picture, and that's how generally I do my readings as well. Even I start my day with like listening to Ganesh Atharv Sheesh Stotram. So let's do a simple chant on the Lord Ganesha.
Great.
ओम वक्रतुंड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि संप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देवा सर्व कार्येषु सर्वदा. Okay, Om Gam Ganpate Namah. Okay, Christina, now let's start with whatever you have to share with our audience.
Okay. All right. So the first thing I remember sharing with you was that a lot of people use different charts for the United States. And, being an occultist, being a person that has studied these different arts for, I'd say, like most of my life, I've always known that there was some kind of occult involvement in the creation of the United States. So I did some research and I found out there was actually an astrologer who was also a physician, and he wrote many books on the occult and occult wisdom. And he was actually the one that drafted the chart for the United States, and it is in one of his books. So that's the chart that I've been using myself, because we do know, maybe some people don't know, that the United States has a lot of ties to Freemasonry and other secret societies. And this man, Ebenezer Sibley, he created a chart, and he was actually a part of these societies and was one of the people that was looked to for counsel in these early days, much like we hear about in India with many of the governments and government officials looking to Jyotish for auspicious timing. So this is something that is being done and has been done in the United States, but it's more of a secret thing. So I think this chart really fits because it has a Scorpio ascendant. So I'm going to go ahead and share that so everyone can kind of get a look at this chart. Okay. All right. So this chart here is what we call the Sibly chart. And if you can see here, a rising sign of Scorpio. And if we look at the chart here, we can see that there are planets in the eighth house here. You see that there?
Yes, 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 yes.
And if we also look at this chart, we see that the United States is in a Rahu Dasha.
Okay.
And the Rahu is here with Mercury. And if we also look here, the moon of the United States is here in the fourth house. Okay. And that moon is actually in Danishta. So I think these are really interesting placements for a country that has many occult, you can say occult ties and much occult wisdom influencing how they operate. But if we look, it's all of this happening here in the eighth house as well. So when I saw this, I thought that, yeah, this chart really fits the United States. This fits what we are dealing with here in the United States. We're dealing with, um, Dhanishta. What do we know about Dhanishta? It's a war nakshatra, right? A lot of people say this nakshatra is related to war. And when we have an ascendant of Scorpio, we see that the country does have a tendency to create many wars and wars with other countries. So I thought it was very interesting that we are in a Rahu Dasha right now in the United States, but we are also coming upon our 250th anniversary. And to make it even more next level, the United States is on its second Rahu Dasha. So we're having another Rahu Dasha. So, that's another whole nother topic. But I thought this was really interesting. When we look at the presidential elections and we look at the way that the people are being affected, we can see that Rahu is playing a big role in what is happening with these elections. We see that Rahu is in the ninth house with Mercury in Cancer. And right now, what's happening in transit, we have Mars going over that in transit
Yes.
and Mars going over Rahu and Mercury. I mean, we can let the viewers kind of use their imagination to see what that would bring. But when I saw that, I thought, this is why many people have mixed feelings about these elections and about these two people. But even when we look at their charts, they both have a lot of Rahu energy as well. So there's this like overwhelming Rahu, like in your face here in the United States. This is some karma I believe we have to deal with, right? So, what do you think about that chart?
Yeah, Christina, because definitely like looking at the ninth house, and that's a very good logic because no matter in which part of the world there is a war front which is opening up, definitely US is definitely going to have a say over there, influence and control over there, how the things shape up. And I guess that is the only reason, definitely when in whichsoever year the election happens, the whole world is glued to the television that okay, step by step, who is progressing, what is going to be happening. And in this year this presidential election becomes more important because during this time the way geopolitical and the war front and the whole situation, economy, everything is at stake. So right candidate to sit on that seat with the right policies becomes important. And definitely looking at the chart, see, the thing is when we talk about eighth house, so it's like it's all about even having a psychological control. And if you have
Yes.
like so many of the planets over there, so we know this thing that even if US is not directly involved, some way or another way their influence is always there. So looking at that potent eighth house with like sun over there, with Mars over there, I can definitely relate with it. Being a strong eighth house person by myself, if you have suddenly come up with this chart, and I'm sure, Christina, the way you are dedicated, the kind of books and the studies which you have done, there must have been some relevant studies and investment in that chart, and I fairly see a correlation with it. I fairly can buy that.
Yes, I think you have some great points. Um, the United States does have a lot of influence, and a lot of times people don't realize how much our voting and our ability to be informed affects other people. This is not really something I think a lot of people think about. They just think, oh, I'm voting for this person because of this. But, what you said is very important. Our leader has to be able to play on the stage of the world and also make deals with countries that they may not be friendly with. And, before we look at the charts, I've studied both of these candidates a lot. I grew up in California, so I'm very familiar with Kamala Harris's policies. I'm very familiar with her track record. She has a lot of things about her that people may say are not appropriate, but this is all politicians. They are all like this. So, I'm not going to say anything bad about her character. What I am going to say is that we do know that if you look at Donald Trump's track record, we already have seen him as a president. We have seen what he did. And one of the big things that I found to be very redeeming about his character was that there were no wars during his time as president.
That's one
That's a
thing to
big
which
one.
even that's one thing. I'm so sorry I'm cutting you over here, Krishna,
No,
but
go
that's
ahead.
even I agree to that. Because see, the thing is, whatever is happening or China's move towards Taiwan will have some say of US. Whatever is happening with or whatever is stopping Israel to do something in retaliation against Iran has some of the US influence over there. And you were right, at the time when Donald Trump was in the power, the world order was in control, was in equilibrium. That's very valid point.
Yes, yes. And he also, he wrote a book called The Art of the Deal. And it's actually something I've recommended to a few of my clients that study business and that want some direction. My husband actually read this book. It's on my list next, but he said it's actually a really good book and it talks about how to make deals. So when you have a guy that's written a book about the art of the deal, you kind of think like he does know a thing or two about being a deal maker, about being the guy that can shake hands with Modi and create a relationship with India. That was another thing that I found very impressive. We study these Jyotish sciences, and for me, being an American, seeing an American president create a relationship with India to where the people of India can really say, we love this guy because of what he's done for our country, that made me feel very proud because it's like a complete alignment of what's happening. And another interesting factor about this new VP that Donald Trump has, his wife is actually Hindu.
Yeah.
And I think that is a beautiful thing for people to see because I think a lot of people think that Donald Trump is, catering to a Christian audience. But actually, when you see this juxtaposition of his VP with him, you see that no, this is actually like a microcosm of his relationship with India. You're seeing, no, there is a man here that's running for politics that has a Hindu wife. This is all belief in God. It's not about being Christian or anything. It's about having certain values and also representing our country in a way that shows strong leadership, that shows informed values, that shows understanding of geopolitics, creating a relationship with North Korea. That's another thing that was actually quite shocking. I don't think we've ever seen that in our history of
Yeah,
our
I still
country.
remember I was in Canada only when that handshake happened between like Kim Jong Un and Donald Trump. It was in
Yeah,
a front page photograph. The handshake the whole world was waiting for. Yeah,
yeah,
definitely. That's very true. That's
yeah. So when you have these characteristics of someone that is running for presidency, yes, he's a bombastic personality and he's got a huge, very solar ego, very healthy ego, we'll say, right?
yeah.
Um, but that's the kind of person you want in charge. So maybe I'll bring his chart up now so we can take a look at it.
Yeah.
Because we do know he has Jesta. And that's something when I look at the chart, I see this is a person that can rule. Let me go ahead and oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, take your time.
Wrong
Take your time.
button.
Mm.
Okay. So here's his chart here.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So when we look at his chart, I did a small kind of talk about this on my Instagram, but I think for our audience, if we just take a look at the nakshatras and we look at the placement of the planets, you know, what do you think about this chart? I want to hear your perspective.
No, Krishna, I've done. See, the thing is, I have his chart always amuses me because I always say that people who are born in these kind of alignments, they are born with a special destiny. So you cannot say that this is a regular or usual chart. This is a chart of a person who is born to serve a special purpose in the humanity, towards the humanity. Now, definitely looking at the chart, being a Leo Lagna, and the thing is, I was closely monitoring when that assassination attempt happened on Trump. And the minute, with a microsecond, he moved his head. It's like,
Yeah.
God is protecting him. It's like you are lucky or
Yes.
like a messiah. And if you look at the chart and all the alignments, looking at the strength of the Mercury in the 11th house, you were talking about a relationship. So we can definitely see it over here as well. You see the way, see, most important, the defining thing in this chart is, if I were to say, it has got more to do with the Rahu Ketu axis and
Mm-mm.
the way they are influencing the luminaries, sun and moon. That is the defining part of this chart. So beyond out looking at this chart, and it is summarizing everything. There is a energy of Kalsar, there is a power of the nodes, there is a power of the sun, there is a power of the Magha. So I'm seeing everything in it which defines him.
Yes, great. Yeah, that's exactly the word power, right? We get that word. This is a very powerful person. And like you were talking about the assassination attempt, there's been several assassination attempts on him. It's just more recently that they have been publicized, but this man has been shot at several times. Even during his first presidency, there was an assassination attempt in his own home. I looked into that. So when I see his chart too, I also see the Jupiter, and I think, right now he is really being protected. And, this person's chart with the MAGA, I see that this is his destiny. I've looked at some of his speeches and I listened to how he speaks, and he speaks about the United States as something that he wants to make his legacy to preserve this nation. So when I see that chart and I hear someone speak like this to me is presidential material. Um, yeah, so I guess we can go on to share Kamala's chart now.
Yes, yes, yes.
So there's been a little bit of discussion of whether or not this is her actual chart, but I went on and I did some research, and this is based on her actual birth time, and the birth certificate is out there. So we do know that this is her chart. So why don't you want to say something about this chart?
Yeah, see, the thing is, Christina, looking at the chart, because, with this US presidential history of, the female luck who runs for the presidential election, that is the one thing. Second thing is, see, definitely there has to be something in her chart which brought her to this stage. It's like, because obviously there must have been so many competent contenders, and she
Mhm.
kept on passing one test after another test to reach that such a top coveted position. So obviously that means this is not an ordinary chart. There must have been some power which helped her to reach even to this extent and all. So now the thing is, what amuses me about her chart is that right now it has more to do with the timing, the dasha which
Right,
she's currently running, the way she's having the returns of the planet, if you look at it from that way. So that is one such thing which somehow gives her a edge, because I still remember, see, the thing is, the second time when the election happened, when Joe Biden came and presided over as a president and all. So there was this kind of whole campaign of where they were, whether they were like happy about their policies and all, that is a separate case. All what people wanted was they were anti Trump. They just,
right.
had they put any one person instead of Joe Biden, he would have won because people were so anti Donald Trump. So there is the
Right.
whole biggest, see, people like, if you take up the India's case, like Narendra Modi ji, you take up the case of Donald Trump, these are people with strong personality and they incite strong response, strong emotion. Like these are people, you will not find them people saying that, okay, okay, I'm okay with my opinion on Narendra Modi. They will say either I love him or I hate him. So these are like people with strong personalities, they invoke very strong response. So what I'm trying to say over here is that in Kamala Harris's chart, definitely if we compare her in front of the Donald Trump's chart, it's not much, it does not have that much power. But when we talk
Mhm.
about the timing, because astrology works on the principle of the right time, you might have four planets strong, but what made you lose was that one planet whose time period you were running, that was weak. It did not help you at that stage. So what I'm
Right.
saying is that apart from Donald Trump's strength in his chart, his conviction, his vision for the America, for the world, if I come back to Kamala Harris's chart, it's the timing which she is running through is giving her an edge. So that's where I got struck.
Mm, great. Yes. That is um that is a wonderful analysis, and timing is everything. And I think another good point that you make is the anti Donald Trump, it's so strong. And what I can say is I'm going to talk a little bit about the eighth house again and
Yes, please,
our
please. Yes,
United
yes.
States chart, because see, what a lot of people don't realize is if you go back to the time of when Donald Trump was hosting The Apprentice, that was a huge TV show.
Hmm.
He was already famous. He was already famous his whole life. He already had this fame. And there's a lot of old interviews circulating of him when he was a young man where people were asking him, would you ever run for president? And he says that he wouldn't because he, has all these different answers, right? But he does love the United States so much. You could see over time, he says, well, maybe I will. And then it became this thing that kind of happened in 2016. It was almost like a joke. He was almost doing it like, oh, let's see what happens. And then he won, and people were like, what? And that's when all of the negativity started, because see, what happened was he's an outsider. He's not a politician. He's just a guy that's been in real estate. He's a legacy real estate, Brooklyn, New York guy that happened to just run for president. And because he was popular from The Apprentice and because people knew him as a household name and he had some good ideas, he won. But then he demonstrated that actually by being in office and having no wars, creating relations with countries that we have never had great relations with. And that's kind of what made me think, this guy, he may have this personality. I don't have to like it, but I love what he did for our country. And when we look at that now, at this election, why a lot of people are saying this election is the election of a lifetime is
Yes.
because our economy is so bad right now. It is so bad. I can tell you I studied the economy is just the same, if not worse, than it was in 2006 when we had our economic crash. But also, it's repeating some of the themes that were happening around the time of 100 years ago, when we had the Great Depression.
Great
So
depression.
this is a very crucial election to vote for somebody that understands policy, that understands taxation. I mean, one of the things he said a couple of days ago was that he was looking to figure out how to eliminate taxes. That's huge. That is something no president has ever talked about. So, I think Kamala will, she may not win the election, but I think she does demonstrate that you can get to that place just by having the timing, as you said. And maybe she will serve in office. I'm really curious to see what happens to her because you know how Rahu kind of raises you up, puts you there, and then can just take it all away. And that was kind of like what my prediction was that she was going to get put in. but she wasn't going to win the election. Now we're going to see what's going to happen after that. You
Wow.
know, um,
Krishna, that's what we see because the whole astrology community is like, even in the comments, people keep on asking me this thing: why you are just trying to be so diplomatic and so soft spoken? Why don't you say in black and white, in clear words, that okay, who you feel as per the astrological calculation is gonna win? So it's like, okay, I need to work on the accuracy of the details and everything. But that's a good thing. See, Krishna, if basis your like your assessment on the timings, on the charts, on everything, so you are rooting more for that the as per the astrological alignments, both of the candidates running dasha and the way transit is influencing them, so you are more rooting for that okay, Donald Trump is a strong contender basis his alignments and running period.
right. Yeah, I do think that is my prediction, is that he is gonna win. We've seen some of the polls here. I've been watching. You know, you can't really tell what the numbers are going to be, but it's gone from very close 50, 55 to now it could even be a huger gap of 70 to 30%. So it's doing that Rahu thing to her. You know, she was, she came up, she got close. Everybody was like, "Oh no, what's going to happen?" And then now it's just like, you know, and we know as it gets closer towards the election, you know, the media.
The thing is, the day when the result is coming, if I'm not wrong, if when I was doing the calculation, on that day, transiting moon is conjunct with Ketu. I'm telling you, people are gonna be shocked. The result is gonna give that feeling of utter see, the thing is, it's not gonna be like something which people will accept and they will go on with their lives. It's gonna be like
No,
something
it's gonna be crazy. They're gonna be like the way
response.
they were last time, you know, in 2020. I actually moved out of state right before the presidential election because you know, living in California, you see all kinds of crazy stuff because this is, you know, they say it's a mostly Democratic state, but I'll tell you, I'd say it's about equal. And I think a lot of people are more independent voters, you know, uh, so they're not, you know, you can't really track what's going on unless you talk to people. And, you know, I'm in a town where a lot of people are just tired of a bad economy. They're tired of, you know, working so hard and not getting enough returns. You know, another important thing is the housing market here and the cost of living to buy a home. And, you know, when you have a president that was in real estate, that understands the
That's a
importance
very
of buying
valid
a
point.
home.
Yeah.
He talked about it in one of his recent speeches. Somebody asked him, "What are you going to do to make it so that people can buy homes again?" Because under Trump, the first time, people were able to buy homes in record amounts. And we see that it's not just, you know, American white people voting for him. This time, there is way more of a swing towards, you know, like I'm half Mexican, right? So there's a lot of Latino voters, there's a lot of Black voters, there's a lot of Indian voters, there's a lot of people from different ethnic backgrounds that are like, you know what? We actually thought he was racist, but we started to see that he's not, that it's something that was created by the media. So we see this Rahu influence of the United States chart kind of making people feel like, what's real? What's the reality? Is this person this or that? Like, let them demonstrate with their actions, right? Let them show you with their actions, you know, what they can do for you.
And
So,
yes, Krishna, for me, it's like definitely. See, you are like telling things on a point of view of the local ground
mhm,
reality. I'm thinking, being a Indian living in Canada and having a strong interest in the humanitarian crisis going on in the world and the global situation and all. So I'm more concerned, and my empathy is more on the global concern that okay,
yeah,
someone is gonna come because every single day when I see this thing that see Krishna being in a field. I I have done readings for even those people who are like actually true philanthropic and humanitarians. Like Nippon, I have served in United Nations in all the war affected areas. I've seen the ground reality, what happens, the suffering and the pain. So all what I'm praying for is the right candidate and competent candidate to be on that seat, who's gonna bring the world out of the misery, people's pain, make them come out of it. Because yeah, there is a lot of suffering going on in the world. We keep on going on with our lives and we just share tweet something, and then we forget that what these people are actually going through. The humanitarian crisis in Palestine right now, it's like in Gaza and all, it has reached the extremities level. And the way this whole situation is happening, so I'm just praying for the peace and yes, right candidate. And yeah, Christina, you summarized it very well. So the thing is, let's
Yeah,
see.
that's a
Because
great point. Yes, I the last thing I'll say about this in regards to dealing with crisis and humanitarianism, we had those floods in the East Coast in North Carolina, and there's still people missing. There are still people that are unaccounted for. They still don't have power, and our government is giving away money to Ukraine, billions of dollars to Ukraine. Yesterday, they just gave more money to Ukraine, and they have not even gone to North Carolina. And Trump has gone to North Carolina, I can say, more than 5 times, and gave $1 million out of his own money the first few days after this. So when I see somebody doing that, and I think you're not even the president, you are going over there to help somebody. You have that Leo heart, that lion heart that wants to help everybody.
and
That that
take care
that
of the
is
masses like a king, like a take care
yes.
of its masses. Yeah.
Yes, you may be rich, you may be this, you may be that, but you really want the best for the people. You want to help your people. You're not ignoring your own people. And I feel like that's what's happened with this administration. They have ignored their own people in North Carolina, and there's a lot of really nasty stuff on the internet. The reason why they're ignoring that area is because it predominantly is people that have voted conservative. That's not America. America is the country that is supposed to help others, be there for their own citizens. And I think what you said is correct. We need to get the right leader for us to help us so that we can help other countries, so that we can, the slogan, what's his slogan, is make America great again.
Yeah.
Like and that's MAGA. It's MAGA and it's MAGA. So it's like, did he consult an astrologer on that? Like, I'm always wondered, did
No,
he have
I can just say this thing that okay, these are the special chosen ones. So this kind of destiny is like something, and I always say when Rahu Ketu, they if they anoint someone, so it means it's for the well-being of the collective. It's not for one person, one nation, or one terrain or something. It's for the world. Rahu Ketu are the, and the thing is next year with Rahu coming in the Aquarius, there is going to be someone who will be caring for everyone. You cannot. Trust me, Rahu in Aquarius will never, ever, never, ever let a racist person come. A racist person cannot even withstand the energy of Aquarius. Aquarius is about we all are one. So Rahu in Aquarius will only bring a person who's going to be caring for everyone. That's the fundamental principle which I can say. But yeah, Krishna, thanks a lot. The thing is, the omen on which we met today, it's a very auspicious Thursday Guru Pushya Yoga where we met. So I'm very much sure all of that which you have shared over here, and especially this new perspective of studying and looking at the USS chart will definitely give lot many new perspective to lot many astrologers who were sticking to either Taurus Lagna, Leo Lagna. Your inputs today will definitely give perspective to them as well. So once again, Krishna, thanks a lot for accepting my
Thank you.
invitation, coming here, sharing your inputs, and definitely we look forward to some more insightful videos on some interesting topics with you as well in future. Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you, Nipun.
Thanks.